So we're going for composition next, and I'm just going to introduce you a few elements of composition. So all this while we have been doing, we've tried using shapes and patterns, and we've tried, creating these um, color wheels and so on and so forth. And we've been using most of these images we create using, the center of the canvas by having the guides, right? The guide going horizontal and the guide going vertical at 50%, right? Both going at 50% horizontal and vertical. So we have something like this, and our design is based off of the center, right? When we do logo, when we do color wheel, when we do shapes and patterns and so on, right? When I ask you to do the equilateral triangle and pentagon and so on, right? So here, what happens is that technically speaking, when doing those layout, we are using a particular strategy in composition, which is to put your subject or your main thing smack in the middle. And you'll notice a theme with regards to the exercises that I mentioned earlier, which is, when I ask you to do the equilateral triangle or pentagon or color wheel or logo, all of these things have some kind of a symmetry to them, right? And they're smack in the middle. And so you should carry on with this if you're going with this kind of composition. Meaning to say that if you're going for a layout where you have your subject smack in the middle, it might do a world of good if that subject is as symmetrical as possible, left to right, right? Meaning to say that if you have, let's say, for example, a building or something, try and take that picture or that image of the building smack in the middle from the front, right? So you have it smack here, right? Or if you're opening, we did the exercise on the lady and the hair, and she looks something like this, right? Hopefully you still remember. Where is the hair? Stunning hairstyle, this one, right? So it's apparently people with a symmetry to their face apparently are quite attractive people, but this is according to science, right? But even if we have a totally symmetrical face, it's pretty hard to find a symmetrical hairdo and stuff, hairstyles and stuff, right? But still, with regards to this, you want to make it smack in the center, and so you want to make your layout go like that. If, for example, you have a person in your layout and she or he is not looking straight at you, meaning having much less symmetry, you're taking the picture from the left or something like that, then maybe you want to have her or him on the other side, meaning instead of smack in the center, meaning some other location, right? In which case, we are transitioning to the next strategy in composition, right? Which is the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is, again, it's pretty simple. It's basically just dividing your screen or canvas into 3 equal parts vertically like this. So you have 2 lines which divide the screen vertically evenly like this, 1, 2, 3 even sized vertical columns, right? And then 1, 2, 3 horizontal as well. So you have 2 lines going horizontal that again divides the screen horizontally into 3 equal parts, right? 3 equal rows, thereby resulting in us having these 9 equally sized rectangle, right? And what this does is it will give you this intersection of these lines. You'll have 4 intersections, and it is a good idea to have your design work around that. Meaning to say that in this particular case, this particular wizard or gnome, right, is here, and you can see that his eyes coincides with the intersection of one of the intersection, and then his arms also, his right arm is going this way, in which case, the right arm with the guitar is arguably another point of focus. You want to see that as well, right? And you put it here in the other intersection, it's like then your eyes will be attracted to that, right? In reality, you can just focus on one intersection, right? But if it affords you the chance like this, then you can have it here as well, right? But again, this particular layout as well can also arguably be attributed to the next composition. So this is the rule of thirds. Any question on the rule of thirds? So it's pretty simple, right? You just divide it into 3 equal parts, and then you try and make use of the intersection, right? But then we can also try and imagine an invisible line around here, right? In which case we imagine this gnome is inside a rectangle here, right? Here. Whereas there is another square going for this other layout, which again transitions us to the next strategy in composition, which is called the golden ratio, right? So have a look at the golden ratio. It is this thingamajig. It starts with a square, right? And if you imagine the square is divided into half like this, right? You imagine the square is divided into half, and you take this point here, which is part of the line that divides the square into half, and you connect this point here with the point here. So you have a diagonal line. You bring that diagonal line here, right? So then we have a diagonal line going from this bottom right corner of the square to that original line, original base of the line or top of the line that divides the square into half, the same line. And then we extend the line further to this side, meaning we have a length here, let's say L or R in this case, which is similar to the length of the line going diagonal like this just now. And so we can construct this rectangle over here, right? So this rectangle sometimes is called a golden rectangle, or this whole thing is called the golden ratio. This square or this line here is otherwise 1.618 as opposed to this line here, which is 1. So the ratio is 1.618 to 1. I'm just gonna write that down, right? So golden ratio, let's make that larger. Golden ratio block, right, is 1 towards 1.618, right? So as I said, so we imagine it's actually part of a circle. We have that line here, right? The radius of the circle, this line here, goes here, and then it goes there. So we have this point which is at the top of the line dividing the square into half. We have that point as the center of that circle, and we have the radius going 3 times. One here, one there, and another one here. So this is the golden ratio. And the interesting thing is that you can then divide this rectangle indefinitely into other golden ratios, meaning once you construct a square here, you will have another rectangle here, and you will have that golden ratio again, 1 to 1.618. Then you divide this rectangle here into a square. You just draw a square. You have another rectangle here, and the ratio is 1 to 1.618, and so on and so forth. So you can just divide it over and over and over again indefinitely, right? But at one point, maybe you want to divide it. As you can see here, this particular designer divides the last rectangle into just 2 squares. Although, you know, that is impossible actually, but she or he just divides it evenly, right? And then we result in this kind of a spiral. And there are different kinds of objects in nature, different kinds of visual shapes or visual images in nature, right? But in which case, if I say, you know, imagine nature, different people might imagine different things, right? But arguably, the things that attracts the eyes a lot and or the most are, you know, strong and intriguing things like this, right? Because these images, while they are natural and have a randomness to them, they also have some form of like a rule to them. We saw that, you know, oh, maybe there's some kind of a, you know, a rule to them that makes them, you know, move like this or appear like that. This might be a pangolin, or the tail of a pangolin, or a snail, right? And these are leaves, sunflower or daisy. Is it daisy or something? Daisy, I think, right? I'm not entirely sure what this is. Some kind of plant. Is it some form of cactus or aloe vera or something? tornado and the galaxy, right, all have that randomness and beauty to it, but at the same time they have that it seems as if they have some kind, they play with some kind of rules. So the golden ratio is humans or humanity's way of dealing with nature and trying to categorize nature. And we seem to believe that, when using the golden ratio, we can then come up with layouts which are somewhat natural, right? So it attracts the eyes quite a bit and it looks aesthetically pleasing, right? For example, if you look at this layout by National Geographic, we can see that, for example, there's some form of a square here. I mean, you can imagine there's a square here, right? And then there's that rectangle here which divides which gets us the golden ratio, right? So the rectangle is here and then the square is here, right? There's the golden ratio. And or you can imagine the square being here and the rectangle being here as well. Now the golden ratio, because it is based off of nature, there is a lot of approximation to it, right? Same thing that we can see this, we can imagine as well that there's a rectangle here, right? And then there's a square there. The reason why I say there's a naturalness and some kind of spontaneity and or approximation to it is because we don't really get normal layouts according to the golden ratio. For example, screen size, normal screen size is 4:3, 4 horizontal and 3 vertical, right? And then paper size, we might use the international system, letter size, whatever, or we might use the Japanese system, A4, A3, A5, and so on, right? So both of these doesn't work according to the golden ratio. So there is a bit an element of approximation there, right? Here, for example, we can see that, for example, we might imagine that this top part here is the square and the bottom part is the rectangle, and it is applied here as well. You have the bottom part here, which is the rectangle, and we have this smack inside the next square here, right? And then we have this smack at the bottom of the square on top of here. So this is the golden ratio. So if you've designed like a T-shirt or a poster or book covers like this, you will find it pretty tough to know where to put your text, right? So the golden ratio can help you. Where do we put this? Where to put text so it is not only attractive but also there's some kind of rule behind it, right? Then we have other examples here which are more in tune with the golden ratio, because the writer of this article actually is kind enough to actually put the golden ratio spiral or imagery, right, or outline there. So you can see here that the bottom image here is according to golden ratio, and then we have this line of text here which coincides with that smaller square, and then this text logo and text here which coincides with another square. So we know that most probably this actually follows the golden ratio, right? And then you'll see other examples over on this particular website. So this website in particular is called the canva.com, right? And I really encourage you to go to this site. It's just that here, I don't know if you can see or not, but at the top we see canva.com/learn, which is not immediately visible if you go to the website. If you go to the website and you haven't logged in, signed up for the service and logged in, you will see this particular screen, right? But once you signed up and then you log in, you will see a different screen. You will see this screen. And as you can see here, there is no, in the menu item on the left, you don't see learn anywhere. So there's no way to actually click that. So you actually have to manually type it canva.com/learn. Then you get to the learning area. Then you can click on different articles and so on, right? But there are lots of useful things on the canva.com site. For example, I signed up and logged in here, as you can see. For example, I can go to photos and I can find stock photos which I can use in my design. Some of them are, it's taking a bit of time, right? Some of them are premium photos, meaning you have to pay before you actually use them in your layout. But some of them are free as well, and they are high quality. As you can see, this is free and premium. I'm just going for the free ones, right? Let's go to and see the free ones, and we get pretty high quality photos, right? Hopefully we will be able to actually see it, right? So for example, so you can use it for different layouts that you want to do in the future. Right, so that's Canva.